So, hi, Pastor Bod. It's so nice to have you here with me today on Our Africa. And today is going to be a departure of sort from the usual, in the sense that I'd like to focus more on your role as a senior pastor of a predominantly Black church. And I'm supposing Nigerian, right? Majorly Nigerian
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
congregation. Okay. Well, I look forward to visiting your church with my family once COVID is over.
That's right.
So I would like to focus more on that, on the role of the church, especially during these trying times that we're all going through. And also, I know that you wear many hats. And so, based on that, I would like to start with my usual, the multifold, multidimensional question of tell us about who you are, your family heritage, where you're from, what you do, and how long you've been in Canada and why Canada.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dosi, for having me. Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. Thanks for creating this time. Yeah, my full names are Bodonwa Olumide Idris. I'm Yoruba. I'm from the Yoruba tribe of Nigeria, originally from Ede in Osun State. I was born in Ibadan, Nigeria, Ibadan, your state for sure, of course. And I've been in Canada now 18 years. I came to Canada 2003. And yeah, it's been a wonderful journey. It's been lovely being here. Yeah, we're a family of 7, including my parents, so 5 kids. So and I'm the third. So I always call myself the middle child. So yes, I have two older siblings and 2 younger siblings. So with 3 boys and 2 girls. So in a nutshell, that's who I am. Yeah, of course, from the title pastor, I serve as a pastor, so I wear different hats depending on what part of me that all the subject I'm addressing. Yeah, so yeah, I'm a clergy. I pastor a church. I'm a businessman. I serve as a management consultant. We run a small consulting firm. Yeah, that provides services to universities, government, multi corporations. So that is yeah, that's what I do, and I also teach as an adjunct instructor with Nate. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's who I am.
Yes, thanks for establishing who you are. So, what's your family heritage?
My dad is a Muslim. My dad came from a Muslim background, and my mom came from a background of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I always say, I'm not sure how they met. I'm not sure how they did it and how they agreed. They agreed to God's glory. I'm from a very, very wonderful family. I think a lot of it had been also with good understanding on their part. I know my dad to be a very open-minded man. So my dad is somebody you can talk to. You know, we can relate. As I said, growing up, I would see that one of the major things I learned from my dad is a prayerful life. I mean, I would even say my dad's passion for prayer has a very big impact on my spiritual life today. My dad is in the 70s, about 75 now. I'll talk to him and wake up around 4 a.m. or before 4 a.m. and he said, oh, he was going to pray. And I remember, I'll call my mom and he'll say things like, oh yeah, your dad, he wakes up 4 a.m. every day. I saw a man that was waking up that early, that diligent about prayer. I saw a man that his Quran that he would read, you cannot put it on the floor. You cannot put anything on it. So I treat my Bible the same way. I saw a man who feared God. You understand what I mean? So, and I said to myself, if my dad could do it that way, and till this age, he's still that passionate, with this fear of God, how much more myself? You understand what I mean? So I learned a lot from him in that regard. And with my mom is she's the disciplinarian of the home. And from mom also, it had been that lesson of faith and prayer. You understand what I mean? That discipline and contentment, very, very important. Discipline, contentment, passion, vision, and goal.
What a great heritage. I'm sure
Thank
you
you.
must miss home, your parents. So why did you decide to relocate and why Canada? Why did you leave Nigeria?
Oh, okay, interesting. My journey into Canada, after I finished from high school, for many people as well, it had always been challenges around better living and also having access to good education. So after I finished, I went to the Polytechnic, and then I worked briefly teaching computers. And and I'd applied for a school admission to study at University of New Brunswick, had a few challenges getting the admission, but eventually got myself here. So I would say yes, that was actually the main thing was about with regards to academics.
What's it like to be an African Canadian here in Edmonton or generally in Canada?
Um, you know, of course, there is the different things. I think the first had always been the cultural differences. When I got to Canada, I first lived in Toronto. So I lived in Toronto for almost 6 years. And then I relocated to Edmonton in 2009, I believe. Oh, 2008. Yeah, I think 2008, yes. So I mean, number one, it's been the culture, moving away from home, moving away from people you're familiar with. But it's also been an opportunity to grow. It's also been an opportunity to see how you can do things better. I've always told people when you get to this environment, I think one of the most important things you can do is to unlearn certain things. Don't work. It's good to keep the company of the people you know, but much more importantly, you need to work with people that don't look like you as well to understand how they think and how they do things. So you get educated, and that will also will impact you in the way you do ministry as well if you're going to be impactful.
We have specific examples though of some of the challenges, and the reason I explore challenges is to help others, especially newcomers who are listening, and for them to know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, regardless of whatever they're grappling with. So that's why I try to highlight some of the challenges and how you were able to overcome those.
Yeah, I think we can probably talk about is what many immigrants can relate to and doing career-wise. We can probably start talking about careers. When you get to Canada, one advice I always tell people is, there's this part of the Bible that says, such as I have, give I thee. So what that means is when you get to an environment, if you want to thrive, don't talk to people that always tell you about the difficulties. Talk to people that tell you things, it can be done. So one of the greatest influences of my life was my uncle. So I'd spent a few months with him. And, I was still going to write about him this past week. And I remembered he was going to take a course in enterprise risk management in those days. Those were days of Sarbanes-Oxley, SOX compliance. Now, I had no idea what that was about. And he told me, but I think you should register for this course. I didn't have enough funds on myself, so registered for it. Did I get a job with it? The answer is no, but I kept pressing on. But I had somebody who was able to motivate me and tell me, you know what? And for some reason, there was a way I'd always thought with regards to career, the type of job I would take and the types of job I would not take, the type of networks I would belong to, in other words, just network with the right set of people. Break the barriers of, naturally you would want to lean towards people of your own color, but if you can, I would say try as much as possible to integrate, move with people that are not of your own color. They will show you secrets. They will tell you things that you do not know. Yes, but you would also face challenges of racism. It's there. Racial discrimination is there. And but don't work with that at the back of your mind as that is going to stop me. No, I don't think that can stop anybody in this day and age. You might go through serious things, if you persist, however, I think you would overcome. So persist. If you have to take some odd jobs just to start with, but don't make that your destination, because what happens is some people get comfortable and they stay there. So approach people, people, the key to your next promotion is in people, LinkedIn has been a very great tool for me. I mean, my best friends and careers, I met most of them in LinkedIn. Most of my jobs, most of the projects I handle, they are on that networking site. To network really well and and don't network as if you are using people. You understand? Also know that you are there to offer something, but be willing to listen and learn from people. So it's it's amazing. It's amazing. But yeah, the challenges were there. But thank God we're here and we're surviving.
Yeah. So what were some culture shocks you experienced as a newcomer to Canada?
Oh, a few ones at work. So when they tell you, oh, Bod, if you have some time, could you please get this done? Oh, and I thought they really meant when you have some time. And that means like I need it right now. You understand?
That's
So
the Canadian politeness.
that's a Canadian politeness. Like,
Yes.
when am I going to get this? Can you please make it a priority? So there is that. Um, there is also the let me share an experience I had with you. I had mentioned the stuff about racial discrimination. I think I shared it the other time, yourself and myself, that we spoke. So let me talk about it again. So I had worked in this organization many, many years ago. And so on the particular day, the vice president of the organization um, announced they needed an auditor, so somebody with an audit background, and they wanted somebody in-house just to fill that position like almost ASAP. So anyway, I was approached and I was interviewed and I got the job. And now, while they approached me, my immediate boss was away from work, and anyway, I resumed at this new role, and I was just looking at some of the just reviewing performance reviews that the managers had submitted about the employees, and I saw mine, and I saw what my manager wrote, and wrote something like, "Oh, he's not an asset to this organization. He does not even speak English." Mm-hmm. And that was a very big shock to me. And I'm like, wow. And the part of me felt, wow, okay, this lady, I'm going to show her. But the part of me also felt, you know what? I couldn't have known that if God didn't orchestrate things that way. So why don't I just leave things that way? You understand? So because I strongly believe that our greatest assets, wherever we are, is relationships.
So lucky you that you found out what a boss wrote about you. My question to you in regards to that, I always believe that people associate accent with communication. And do you think that accents limit immigrants here in Canada professionally? In your own opinion, this is just your opinion. So we don't have research study, or maybe there is one out there to support my statement. But my own opinion, I believe that. So do you, based on your experience, think that?
I would say so. And yeah, I think so. And I've even spoken to a few immigrants who on their LinkedIn profiles, they deliberately wouldn't put their pictures there. And so some of them...
Or people don't use their full names.
Yes, they wouldn't use their full names. And those that use, and those that use probably English names wouldn't put their pictures there on LinkedIn. I've seen that before. As a matter of fact, there was still one that happened, I think, probably within the last 6 months. Somebody had posted a job, and I was sourcing for a job for one of my contacts. So I had messaged this guy, and I can remember the exact word he used. He said, "Look, Bod, the problem is not about being qualified. This organization clearly told me if this person has got an accent, we don't want to hire him." It's not even a verbal conversation that we had. It was the guy actually messaged me. Yeah, so it does limit people. But does that define competency? The answer is no. I don't think your accent has got anything to do with regards to your competencies.
So now, the late Nelson Mandela once said that, "Do not judge me by my successes, but judge me by how many times I fell down and I got back up again. So, do you have stories of encouragement really to share of when you fell down and how you got back up?
In my early days in Canada, I've had times where I didn't have a roof over my head. I've had those times. I've had a few weeks that I slept in my car. You understand? And had to quickly use the libraries to take some quick shower in the morning, just rough ones. I've had those days. I've had the days where I had health challenges. I think about 3-4 years ago I had a heart failure. And it looked as if that was the end of everything. You understand what I mean? Lost my first marriage as well from that a few weeks after that. And it looked as if my world was literally crumbling. That's the truth. Because I had the heart failure March 31st, 2-3 weeks after it, my marriage packed up, and I was like, where did this come from? And I didn't detect it. You understand? But again and again, they say something, those who look up to the sun, they see those shadows. You understand? It's not that you wouldn't have pains, but we must move on in spite of those pains. There is this song we all used to sing, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. It's a scripture in the Bible. And then we wept when we remembered Zion. But you are one that is going to determine whether you are going to sit down by the rivers of Babylon and weep, or you are going to move forward. Just like David, the Bible says what he wept until he had no more strength to weep. And he encouraged himself in the Lord. So you have to have a support structure that will encourage you. I always say it's this way: if you are going to rise up, in every association you have, you need 3 sets of people in your life. You need people that you yourself can lift up. You need people that are sustainers, and you need people that can lift you up. You need those 3 people, and you have not assessed your relationships to think whether, are these just relationships of convenience? Are these people that can go out of their, that they can go out of their ways to help and to sustain me? Then you need to really reevaluate those relationships, and don't be vindictive. Be very forgiving. Be very forgiving. When we go through difficult times, one of the things we are tested against is what? Offenses. Offenses will come, and the biggest disappointments will come from quarters that you don't expect. You understand? You don't take it to heart. People are people. The best of man is still a man, but you must, with it, look at it, face the storm, and then what? Rise above it. The significant problems that we face, Albert Einstein once said, the significant problems that we face, can never be solved at the same level we were at when we created them. Meaning that when I face an obstacle, my strength must not be equal to the strength of the obstacle. Otherwise, there will be no output. So I must rise. I must build myself. I must build my capacity beyond the strength of the obstacle that I'm facing. And if you can overcome that phase, you understand? I tell you, nothing scares me in life. Death doesn't scare me. You understand? Nothing scares me. And, loss doesn't scare me, right? Oh, can I lose everything? Yes. I was at that point, I lost so much. I lost so much financially.
And that is life. Life happens to us all. I like your response about forgiveness. I find that reassuring. Right. So, in your own opinion, what then do you think is the path towards healing and reconciliation in a world really that is in need of healing?
I think allow offenses. You see, I learned some things. God never asked us to trust people. He only asked us to love people. Our trust is supposed to be in Him. So you can only get disappointed when you have put your hope in something. So when the object of your affection is not a person or is not on their performance, so meaning that I should give room to the fact that they can fail. That's the truth. In fact, some people even want to do good, but they just don't have the capacity to do it. So that's the first thing. We must give room to offenses. One thing that Satan does and that evil people do to us is they try to magnify our differences. So as an example, somebody tells me something negative about you, oh, and I said, wow, guess what is going to happen? A seed had been sown. it's like a little grain that's been sown in my heart. And the next thing that happens is I can either starve that seed to death or give it room. And how do I give it room? Thinking about that thing, then watching out for that thing in you. So guess what happens now? So let's assume that part of you is 0.01% of what makes Dr. Jones see. I can magnify it so much that it becomes all my focus. That is the 100% that I see about you. So we need to learn to look at other parts of people and say, you know what, all in all, this person is a good person. It's just an area. We all have areas where we can grow. So you always want to make sure that you preserve those relationships. Some people may not be profitable today. They might have offended you today. Or guess what? They may be relevant tomorrow.
Yeah.
So try to just let them be. You understand? If they need to grow, they will grow. If it's you that also need to grow, you should grow. But work with a plain heart. And at times, what is said is not even what is heard. So we need to give room to those things. One of my friends is from Asia. So we were at work, and I crossed my leg, and I put my right leg on my left knee. So the sole of my feet was facing him, and he said, "Bob, put your leg down." He said, "That is insulting in my culture."
Mm.
I'm like, "Oh, really? I never knew." So those types of things, we must learn to accommodate one another and just be forgiving. I find out that communication, it's the icebreaker. Once you communicate with people, I think the rest becomes. And don't try to win an argument.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to win an argument. Don't communicate to people because you want to prove you're right. Don't communicate to people because you want to win an argument. I think the focus should always be, I want to win my brother. I want to win my sister. If everybody were to stand on their rightness, I tell you the truth, everybody is right. So it should always be that I want to win my brother. I want to win my sister. I think that should be the focus.
I like that. Wow, that's so powerful. That the focus should be on winning and not on being right.
That's
and
right.
On establishing your own rights over the other person. So there is trauma in many communities, especially let's just even not focus on the world right now. There's trauma all over the world with COVID. And focusing on Canada, the recent events here in Canada is re-traumatizing so many communities. For example, the unmarked graves of children in the Indigenous community, COVID, racism, and the death of the Muslim family recently here in Canada. Right. So many communities are grieving, really, and they are being re-traumatized because some of these issues, they're not new. Like what's going on in the Indigenous community, what's going on in the Black community. But some of these events are triggered, especially because of the pandemic right now. They're triggers for re-traumatizing people. So my question to you is, what is the role of the church? Generally, what's the role of the church? So in general terms. But the other aspect of the question is, in specific terms, what is the role of the African church here in Edmonton? Or maybe I should say African churches here in Edmonton. What is their role? How are they supporting these communities?
Thank you. Very an interesting question. But one of the things that we have been called into is to be peacemakers. We've been sent to actually, if you look at that Isaiah 61 again, I've sent you to the brokenhearted. God barely sends you to made people. That's the truth. God barely sends you to people that were okay. You understand? If you see anybody who started that way, maybe the person doesn't understand his assignment. So that is the first. And I think this is the opportunity for the church to show its light and manifest its light. A few things that I think the role of the church is in this day and age is reaching out. There is never a shortage of people that are going through trauma. So it's never a shortage of people that are going through problems, through difficult circumstances. Let me give you an example of something we did last year. So when COVID started, and we needed to, reduce capacities at our church. Now, one of the few things that we did, called a meeting for all our members, and okay, if anybody needs, this is a helpline. And when we found out people started losing jobs, we needed to help them. Can we give them money? Probably not, you understand. But can we provide trainings? Good, you understand. So we had a few training workshops. People still refer to it up until today, send resumes. There were people that got jobs from that. Those are roles that I think the church can play in addition to what they are currently doing. The other part of it also, as I said, is to reach out to those people. Normally when people are hurting, some of them don't know, or they don't have who to talk to. Just hear them out, pray with them, refer them to good resources. The church may not be 100% equipped. In fact, the church is not 100% equipped to handle all the problems of mankind. That's the truth. The church can probably cater to the spiritual, maybe cater to some part of the emotional, but there are some that are quite deeper than that, where you have to refer to things like social services and see what ways you can also support the government in ministering and reaching out to the individuals that are impacted in those ways. It's important for us to let people talk, let people talk about their pains, hear them out. And I don't want to play the role of God as well. And when I say I don't want to play the role there are some pains that is only God that can remove. That is the truth. Why am I saying this? What I'm saying is that there are people also probably wiser than myself. They can probably attend to those problems. When people talk to me at times for counseling, I've had people I say, I think you should see a psychologist. You understand? Because I don't think I'll pray with you. I will support you with the scriptures, but I also think you need to see a psychologist. So we have to take on that role. Some churches are already doing it.
To conclude, what do you do for self-care?
Oh, what I do for self-care. Interesting. When I'm not doing anything, you can probably see a piano behind me. I like to relax with music. At times, I just like to lie down and do nothing. You understand? I like quietness a lot.
So solitude.
Yes,
solitude, yeah.
I don't take that for granted. So that is why when I see I'm a shy person, you probably wouldn't see me at a party. You understand? It's just not my nature. You understand? I am best when I'm well rested, and my creativity increases when there is quietness around me. So I'm the type of a person that after a very long, busy and crazy day, I would just say, I want to take a walk. In fact, the way I work is I can walk for 30 minutes, take my eyes off for 5 minutes, take a stroll, think. Because a big part of my job is thinking. You understand? And I found that I'm better, I deliver better when I have enough thinking time. So I don't just believe in speed, I believe in my thinking time.